This board meeting to order at 6:32 p.m. And I wanted to let everyone know who's tuning in that we did have a work session prior to this evening's board meeting. And at that work session, we covered baseline assessment data and school and district dashboard updates with Dr. Ricky Smith, Director Robson, and Paul Verstrate. And then we had an enrollment and budget update with Directors Ebert and Director Moore. So that brings us to our regular session of the board. And Dr. Ricky Smith had to step aside for a moment to help a patron. But as far as I'm aware, there are no changes to the agenda from the superintendent. So with that, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Motion's been made by Director Jaimes and seconded by Director Zerschmied. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we will move to a choral vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion passes and the agenda has been approved. So with that, we will move into recognition and good news, and I will hand it over to Lisa Burden.
Okay, good evening, everybody. So Patty's going to put up a couple slides here for us. And I'm here to present this evening for Red Ribbon and National Drug Prevention Week, which is October 23rd to the 31st. And here with us tonight are Tigard High STUD students. And STUD stands for Students Against Underage Drinking and Drug Use. This is a club supported by Tigard Turns the Tide Coalition. And with them tonight is a representative for the City of Tigard Youth Advisory Council. And the advisor for STUD is Connie Rawmakers. The second group with us tonight is Tualatin High School Stand-Up Club, supported by Tualatin Together Coalition. The advisors for Stand-Up are PE and Health teacher Kathy Holloman and Tualatin Together Executive Director Cindy Hillier. Both of these clubs and coalitions work to promote healthy choices in a drug-free community in Tigard and Tualatin. Tonight, they will share their plans for Red Ribbon Week and this school year. So let's start with Tigard High STUD students.
Good evening, board members. Thank you guys for having us. We appreciate your time. I'd like to start by introducing myself. My name is Sarah Gibb, and this year, along with Henry Taylor Goldie, we are co-presidents of STUD this year. We have several members here tonight representing our STUD club at Tigard High and a couple members of the Tigard Youth Advisory Council. To start off, we would like to share with you a joint project about our mental health and wellness we are doing called Hope and Beyond. Our goal is to help ourselves and our peers deal with the anxiety, stress, and many other issues we are experiencing since the pandemic. We have formed a partnership with Tigard Youth Advisory Council, and I'd like to turn it over to Natalia and Sam to explain the project.
Hello, I'm Natalia Hawkes. I am president of Tigard Youth Advisory Council. So Connie Raymakers brought TIAC and STUD together at the end of this summer when she realized that we had projects we were moving forward with that were very similar in agenda. And so she gave us the opportunity to work with Dr. Amy Stober, a child psychologist, and we formed a team and named our project Hope and Beyond. At our first meeting, we identified 3 major goals we wanted to address. We wanted to decrease stigma around mental health, build a support system for all students and helping identify students who's in their circle, and provide resources and educational materials. Our first major project was producing videos that help address these goals, and we can provide a link for you to view them. And our second project was to provide posters and resources, and so we involved Connie Jolie's health class. Sam will explain.
Hello, my name is Samantha Larson. I am a sophomore at Tigard High School. And as we were talking about our Hope and Beyond project, we're just trying to really reach out to the students at Tigard. And so one way we thought that we would try to incorporate Miss Jolly's health classes. And so Sarah's passing out a few sample posters that our own health students made. We really just wanted them the opportunity to make posters with resources that they found that they could think that they could help the students at Tigard. And so as you can see, they did a great job making, these are just a few sample ones. There's a lot more that we plan on
up at the school. Now I will turn it back over to Natalia.
So our next major project will take place on Zoom on October 26th in the evening at 6:30. We are creating a panel of students that will be guided by Dr. Amy Stover in addressing mental health issues that youth are facing and dealing with. We hope to make it interactive and get the audience involved. Our goal is to have it open to all students and parents and TTSD. So please attend if you can. And
We had our first stud club meeting last Friday. We have had several events planned for the next few months. Oshiki will introduce you to a couple.
hello, I am Youth City Councilor Nog, and I'm currently speaking on behalf of STUD. STUD is currently working on a letter writing campaign endorsing in favor of Tobacco Ordinance 878. This ordinance will prevent access of tobacco, flavored products, synthetic nicotine, and inhalant delivery systems to individuals under 21 years old. To achieve this, Washington County Public Health is proposing all flavored tobacco products be sold only in 21 and over establishments, and price promotions and discounts are prohibited. Drugs have definitely been glamorized in teen culture, and I know multiple people who have participated in doing drugs at least once. When these dangerously addictive products are sold in flavors that are commonly associated with candy, teenagers are ought to be confused about the impact of their actions. These marketing strategies shown by the tobacco industry targets youth audiences. Youth tobacco use is increasing, and the tobacco industry continues to use marketing strategies that target teens and children. New flavors such as flavored e-cigarettes and synthetic nicotine have contributed to that rise. In 2018, 30% of Washington County high school students surveyed reporting having tried an electronic vaping device. Additionally, 55% of youth reported that it is too easy to get e-cigarettes, while 40% have reported that it's easy to acquire traditional tobacco products. Flavors continue to be attractive to youth. In Oregon, 63% of sixth graders and 75% of 11th graders reported using flavors if they used a tobacco product. Restricting flavored products to establishments that are 21 and over align sales with the legal age group. It also prevents youth from being enticed to experiment and potentially develop a lifelong addiction to these products. I'm going to hand it over to Sam.
Okay, I will just be talking about some of the things that we're doing for Red Women Week. We're going to be celebrating that October 26th and 27th during the lunches, and just trying to bring, it's like a week, we bring awareness to mental health at Tigard. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be having at lunches, at tables, we'll have students sign a pledge to be drug and alcohol free, and then they're able to spin a wheel to win some prizes. Some other things that we're hoping to do, we made several videos about mental health as well, and we're hoping and trying to get them shown on Tigard today that all the students watch at Tigard. And then we also, as you saw the posters, we're going to be hanging those up around the school to give resources to the students. We are also came up with the idea of a suggestion box for our students, and we'll be putting it in the cafeteria, and they're able to put any questions they have about mental health issues, you get what I mean. You know, yeah, they can do that. And we'll just be able to answer their questions. And yeah, it's just a safe place for them to say anything they want. And then, as Natalia mentioned, our Zoom meeting as well on Tuesday, October 26th in the evening. All right, here we go, Bella.
Hi, I'm Bella Peterson, and I'm a sophomore at Tigard High School. And STUD has the opportunity to take part in a pilot project with the National Chris Herring program. And we are one of 6 high schools who have the opportunity to participate. And this program is called Rock to Recovery. And it is a program that uses music to help people of all ages better their lives. And a quote from one of their leaders, and it says, "The transformative power of music has an especially strong impact on tweens and teens. Our youth programs provide opportunities for children in schools, after-school programs, and other settings to develop social and emotional skills." And we are very excited to have this opportunity. We'll have about 6 to 8 students working on the project with a well-known rock star to help us develop music and lyrics to create our own song. And we plan to start the project in November. So I'll give it back to Sarah.
Thank you. We are so excited for this school year, especially to be able to be back in school and to really make a difference in these kids' lives. We have an opportunity to be a part of clubs like STUD and Tigard Youth Advisory Council and make a really big difference for our peers in our community. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And we have a little gift for each of you board members to say thank you for all that you do. We'll give that to you guys later. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kira Markland. I joined stand up because of my best friend Cindy, and I'm a junior attending at Tualatin High School. I've been a part of stand up since my freshman year. I am now the liaison between stand up and Tualatin Together for the Just a Dream program. This program not only provides attire for all Tigard and Tualatin High Schoolers for homecoming, winter formal, and prom. We also provide survival kits, include positive prevention messages about ways to engage with friends and fun without feeling pressure of using substances. For the last 3 months, myself and approximately 20 volunteers put over 60 hours creating our survival kits and planning, sorting, fundraising, and acquiring a variety of tire, shoes, and accessories from our community and local businesses. I love volunteering for this program and I look forward to our next Just a Dream event. Thank you for your time.
Hi, my name is Leo Olivares, and I'm a freshman at Tualatin High School, and I'm in Tualatin Associated Student Body, No Place for Hate, and Stand Up. I joined Stand Up because I really like the energy that they're giving off at the club fair, hosted September 24th. So here we are going to be doing a pumpkin and gratitude project journal. And this started last year in response to the pandemic, since so much was taken away from the elementary schools. And so, yeah, starting in November, each student will complete a supply journal with gratitude exercises for 30 days, as well as pumpkins and a Sharpie to write what you're thankful for on the pumpkins. If any of this sounds interesting, then there will also be a volunteering opportunity available to transport about 1,400 pumpkins from Al's to 3 of the surrounding elementary schools on Thursday, October 28th, starting at 9 a.m. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Bergen Lean. I am a freshman at Tualatin High School. I joined Stand Up because I saw it as a way to help students out in the Tualatin High School and the community surrounding it. We want to give this, we have this magnet we want to give out to students that is a great resource that includes stuff such as the alcohol and drug hotline, a crisis hotline, and many more. We have given this out before and want to continue giving them out. They are written in both English and Spanish. Thank you for listening.
Hi, I'm Olivia, and I'm a freshman, and I'm a part of No Place for Hate, GSA, and Stand Up. I joined Stand Up because my friend convinced me to, and I have really liked it since because of the message that it provides. I'm going to be talking about the Wicked Fun Run. It is an event that helps raise money for us to support the rest of our community with events we do for the rest of the year. It also has people from elementary schools coming to run around in their Halloween costumes and have fun. This is the shirt that this is the shirt that the participants will be wearing, and the shirt behind you from Cindy is the one that volunteers will wear. If you if you want to volunteer, you can look at the sheet that we're going to pass out to you, and it has more volunteer information, or you could just participate, and that would be really helpful too. Thank you for your time.
Last but certainly not least, I'm Lily Story. I am a sophomore in stand-up. A lot of people in high school, including me, have not had proper finals. Or juniors, for example, have had like one final and then nothing else. So later on during final seasons, we plan to create a wellness stations and workshops to help students cope with going through finals and to help them take care of themselves mentally and physically as they go through a time that most students haven't gone through and aren't prepared to go through. We hope to be able to help students through that and then celebrate afterwards that they got through finals. Yeah, so we have a lot of things planned and we are so excited for this year. Thank you.
Well, thank you all for your presentation. I know you have some things to hand out to the board, but if you'll just wait a moment, we also have a resolution that we'd like to ask the board to read. And then we'll like to take a photo as well.
Well, thank you very much. We'll get to board comments in just a moment, but for now, I'm going to hand it to Director Irvin to read the resolution.
A resolution of the Tigard-Tualatin School Board of Directors in support of Red Ribbon Week. Whereas alcohol and other drug abuse in this nation has reached epidemic stages and the 15 to 24-year-old age group is dying at a faster rate than any other age group. And whereas it is imperative that visible, unified prevention education efforts by community members be launched to reduce the demand for drugs. And whereas the National Federation of Parents for Drug-Free Youth are sponsoring the National Red Ribbon Campaign, offering citizens the opportunity to demonstrate their commitment to drug-free lifestyles. And whereas the National Red Ribbon Campaign will be celebrated in every community in America during Red Ribbon Week, that is a tongue twister, October 23rd to 31st, 2021. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Tigard-Tualatin School District does hereby support October 23rd to 31st, 2021 as Red Ribbon Week and encourages all its citizens and patrons to serve as role models for its children and to enthusiastically participate in drug prevention education activities, making a visible statement that we are strongly committed to a drug-free community.
Wonderful. So before we get to a motion, are there comments from the board for our presenters? Director Jaimes.
So friends, thank you for coming and doing this presentation. I know it's sometimes kind of tough talking to adults that have no context for what you go through, but we did a long time ago. So thank you so much for doing that. You know, back when I worked at Bridgeport Elementary, where I met Cindy, you know, we were big advocates into helping further this work, and I really appreciate what you guys are doing because it does help and it does give the students behind you that are coming up, you know, a sense of kind of oh yes, we agency of advocating, and so thank you so much for what you are doing.
I just wanted to make a comment about the wellness thing that you guys were thinking about doing around finals time, and I just wanted to say like what a great idea that was, because I actually had a conversation today about like with someone who was like freaking out about finals because they've never experienced that in person, and I think that that's something that a lot of students are going to capitalize on and take advantage of, and I think it'll make the whole process a little bit smoother. So that's really cool that you guys are doing that.
Director Zerschmied.
I just want to reiterate what Mahati said. I was really impressed by all of your comments that show how much you care for the students in your school. And when Lily started talking about the supports for kids going through finals for the first time, it just touched me so deeply, because it is that care that you've got for the other students in your building. And coming from you, it's so important that the other students, because we can talk about it up here, but we're grown-ups and we don't know what's going on, but you guys know what's going on. And so to have that empathy for your fellow students, I just commend you for it and thank you for it.
Director Irvin and then Vice Chair Lynn.
Similarly, I really appreciate what both schools are doing on behalf of their students and to really support them. And I think what's really important and unique maybe to this year than other years is really connecting mental health with drug and alcohol use prevention, and really seeing that whole cycle there and addressing all of those things all at once. I think that's really sort of old soul of you guys to kind of be putting all of that together and supporting all of the students at both of the high schools that way, and putting on, different contests and activities. And I love the gratitude journals and pumpkins. All of that stuff really just sort of speaks to a holistic wellness opportunity for your students that you're helping to support and give agency to. So that was really fantastic.
I just wanted to say thank you for taking leadership. Thank you for modeling what it looks like to really care about your fellow student. I just kept thinking, we really are in good hands. If this is what the next generation looks like, if these are going to be our teachers, our counselors, our superintendents, right, of the future, then we're in great hands. So I'm really proud of you and really grateful to all the work you're doing on behalf of your fellow students. Congratulations.
Absolutely. And I would echo my colleagues' comments. I did want to apologize for stepping away for just a moment. Your presentation was excellent. In fact, one of the best we've heard. You were all excellent public speakers who could certainly do something like this for a living where you're presenting to folks. And then I also can't not comment on your adult advisors in the room who I can't believe there's enough room on your head for more hats to be wearing. But you're so generous of yourselves for your community, and we appreciate both Councilor Hillier and Connie for all that you do to make this possible. And yeah, Jill, our Director Zerschmied, what you were saying was resonating with me. We try so hard as adults in the system to pass policies and rules and teach things the way that we want them to be modeled by students. But what we know for sure is that you modeling the behavior as student leaders is far more effective. So what you're doing is a tremendous service for your colleagues, for your student peers, and our district is better off for having you in it. So thank you very much. Oh, yeah, Representative Taylor Goldie.
That was an easy fix. Not to pat myself on the back because I am a part of STUD, but making it pro-student and incorporating the health classes was a huge goal for us, was not to just be this club that could be a self-selecting group, and to really put it back to the health classes, which are our core class, and to say that when they do create posters, it does resonate with the student body. That was really important. And so I would like to say that although these students are all exceptional, that all of our students in schools are exceptional, and they're all doing this work, and their coalition together is what is making this succeed. And so I thank you.
With that, now would be an appropriate time for a motion. There's a race right now to get the the language.
I move to adopt resolution 2122-08 in support of Red Ribbon Week as presented.
I second. Motion's been made by Director Zerschmied and seconded by Director Jaimes. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we will move to a choral vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say nay. And the motion passes. Congratulations. So Lisa, would you like to direct the crowd here, and we'll hand the mic to Dr. Ricky Smith?
So I wish to offer also my congratulations to you, to the work that you are doing this year, and to the work that has been done for so many years under the able leadership of your adult mentors, both Connie and Cindy and team. I was in a meeting today with the governor and a group of superintendents relative to the general state of the union, relative to bringing students back into in-person instruction. And one of the things that I heard my colleagues say over and over and over again was their desperate need for more activities that were aimed at students using tobacco and alcohol and drugs to try to cope with the trauma that has been the COVID pandemic. And I listen now to you, and I just think, oh, we are in such great hands, and how incredibly proud I am to say that I'm in a district where students lead in this way, and where the adults trust you to do just exactly that. So please keep up the good work that you're doing. It is not only important work at this moment in time, it is critical work at this moment in time for your peers. And we are so grateful that you're here this evening. And with that, we have cards. I believe it's a Cold Stone. Or do we know? We think it's Cold Stone. Okay. They're gift cards. You could actually probably mix and match. So you might want to check out, maybe you've got something different and you can trade. But it's just a small token of our thanks for your leadership and for the way in which you make TTSD the special place that it is. So thank you so very much. And this is typically where Lisa will then direct you to please come forward and line up in front of the board here so that we can get a picture for the family album. Okay, kind of like family dinner or birthday party or whatever. Okay, here we go.
So with that, we are going to take a quick 5-minute recess while folks filter out and just to catch our breath. We'll see you in 5 minutes. All right, Thor, can we go back to live? Okay, great. We're good? Okay. All right, welcome back, everyone. I will reconvene the meeting at 7:08 p.m. from our recess. Thank you once again to the student leaders from Tigard and Tualatin High School for the presentation. That was fantastic. They are, as you can see on our live stream, slowly mingling out, but that was an excellent way to kick off our board meeting. So with that, we will move into student representative reports. Which high school would like to go first? Representative Taylor Golby.
I do need to work on that. So Tigard had Club Rush on October 14th. There was a lot of students, and being the president of two different clubs, co-president of one, there were a lot of signups, way more than there had been before in previous Club Rush. And that was really interesting. There were way more students involved in extracurriculars, it felt like, which could have been due to, not having extracurriculars all of this pandemic time. But it was really great to see a mix of freshmen as well as seniors signing up for clubs. The homecoming parade was a huge success on the 8th. It was really fun. Even though we couldn't have a dance, I know that all of the people that did participate had a blast, and it was really successful to have been put on in like a week. And then winter sports have also started practicing. I have friends in swim, and they've been talking about how swim is getting going and how excited people are for winter sports, as well as, again, not having to pay to play fees. And then Dr. Sue met with Tigard High School leadership on Friday, which was helpful for future event planning and especially for future dances and things like thinking about when those might happen, if they'll happen, how we would go about planning them, as well as COVID information in general. I know that our leadership class had a lot of questions and a lot of them got answered. So lots of appreciation for you.
Okay, at Tualatin, academics have been smooth sailing for the most part, with the new hire of a math teacher to cover for the retirement of another math teacher, which left a lot of students without an actual teacher. They were kind of bouncing around with subs and teachers that were in the building, and it was kind of messing things up, especially because it was like the highest level of math. It was those students that were being affected. Additionally, IB testing has opened up and teachers are seeing a large amount of interest, I think larger than anticipated, especially given the online year. I think teachers were expecting that most students would kind of shy away from that because people feel unprepared, but I think this was a really exciting sort of realization that people are having. Tualatin had Club Fair 2 weeks ago and the freshman turnout was wild. I agree with Henry, I've never seen engagement like this before. So that's really exciting. And more than that, a lot of people sign up for clubs at Club Fair, but then don't actually come to the meetings. But every club that I'm in, all the meetings have been 40 or more people. And so it's mind blowing the amount of people that are actually coming to meetings and being engaged and wanting to be involved. Kind of continuing on that streak, Coffee House had our first little, I guess it's coffee house. We had our first coffee house and it had an all-time high for a number of students that came and number of students that performed as well. So it was really awesome. And the first print edition of the Wolf newspaper drops next Wednesday. This will be the first issue that gets distributed in school with the built-in reading time since March 2020, which is really exciting. And it's incredible. I'm so proud of it. And this is a perfect time to highlight the funding loss newspaper is going through right now because ASB stickers are being sold at a lower price and a lower number of them is being sold. So we're kind of scrambling to put things together to make sure that we can continue to stay a print newspaper and not move to online totally. And fall sports are entering the championship part of their seasons. I'm sure most of you guys have been seeing how well our football team has been doing. So that's really exciting. Volleyball has their senior night on Wednesday following, and then after that, the homecoming parade is on Thursday. Following that, the Wolves have their homecoming game against Oregon City. And our last little tidbit for sports is senior Caleb Lakeman has had an incredible senior cross country season. His current national standing is 9th in the 5K, which is absolutely wild. And he has broken almost all of our distance school records, which is pretty incredible. And for seniors, stress levels are at an all-time high right now because school's ramping up. It's kind of that time of the year when things start to like be real, like classes, and college applications are coming due pretty soon. So I think people are kind of struggling right now with that. And finally, students show continued excitement to be in person and to be in person with one another. And speaking from my experience, I know that if this is an online year and I was going through all the stuff that I was going through right now, I would be struggling so much. And I'm so thankful that we're in person and we're able to be with our teachers in person and with our fellow classmates in person. So yeah.
Well, thank you both for those thorough reports. I imagine Caleb Lakeman may have beat our 5K time at the regatta this weekend. But really, I mean, there's definitely some challenges, but the amount of good news in there is really encouraging. So thank you both. Any questions for our student representatives? Okay. Hearing none, we will move to Superintendent and Board Communication, Dr. Ricky Smith.
Thank you, Chair. Briefly, I'm pleased, Representative Golby, that we were able to answer most of the questions on Friday. I really enjoyed my time both at Tualatin on Thursday with the ASB and then with all of you at Tigard on Friday. I was joined by Director Amber Fields and then the respective principals as well. And our goal was to work with students to guide them to holding a homecoming dance, which I believe you tossed around some dates, maybe the first weekend in November. And then also encourage them to plan all of the other events going out, including prom, and to think relative to some alternative dates as well and communicate all of the possible dates so that people understand as clearly as possible, because it appears that there's still confusion that we have canceled homecoming dance. We have not canceled, we postponed. That's been a reset. And so there will be other activities like that throughout the year. And we can take a look again at the metrics and other considerations as we're trying to decide, can we hold it on this date or do we need to postpone? So really appreciated the thoughtfulness and the really deep questions that students asked. It was clear that you thought through all of the ins and outs, and it's a real joy to be able to sit with students and support that kind of processing. Also today is the final date for the state relative to the vaccine mandate for K-12. And I wish to give a large kudos and shout out to Director Debbie Ebert and to her team of over 1,500 staff. We have somewhere between 98 to 99% that are vaccinated. The remainder are on exemptions and will be followed to ensure that their safety is protected as well as the students that they serve. And that would not have happened without all of the very thoughtful, caring, and compassionate work that she and her team did, individual by individual, in our district. So round of applause for her. And we are within the metro area, we are actually a little bit ahead of our neighboring districts. I think Portland Public may be neck and neck with us. So our colleagues in Central and Eastern Oregon have not fared quite as well, but are able to still operate. And we were able to share that good news with the governor today. Additionally, I did have a meeting, actually 2 back-to-back meetings with the governor on 2 different committees. And she is very much committed to continuing to work with us as we take a look at the changes in as COVID, the current Delta surge recedes, and looking at the forecast. And based on this morning's report from the OHSU modeler, it appears that we may have some good news towards the end of December. And we've asked her to continue to work with us so that we can provide accurate information to our families relative to any changing in any of the guidance, including masking. Also, we anticipate that vaccines will be approved for emergency use and available starting on November 6th for ages 5 through 11. The governor also indicated today that they are studying how they wish to roll that out. Our response has been, we are prepared to offer at sites for those who wish to be vaccinated, and we will continue to seek the state's guidance going forward at this point as to how they wish that to roll out. And Washington County Public Health has been a very active partner and will continue to be so with the district while we are determining how best to move forward. And we will certainly bring a report to the board once we have that information solid.
Colleagues, any questions for Dr. Ricky Smith before we move into our board reports? I did want to ask, there was a report in the Oregonian about a shift in state policy around substitute teachers. Apparently now the only requirements to be a substitute teacher in Oregon are you must be 18 years of age or older and pass a background check. Has that impacted us yet? And if so, what's our sort of strategy with substitute teachers?
Not as yet, although that certainly is one more tool in the tool chest. The challenge is that we know that teachers are finding this time coming back where it's excited as they are to be with students. They're being very thoughtful about that scratchy throat or the runny nose that normally we would ignore and now take a very serious look at. In addition, mental health for our teachers also is a large consideration. And so currently, again, due to Director Ebert's work and relationship building with ESS, who provides us the subs, they are a provider for districts across the TriMet area. We typically have a fairly good response rate. Then the next step to that is to use roving subs that we are in the process of hiring. Additionally, all of the departments, instructional departments that have TOSAs, teachers on special assignments, we roll those individuals out as well. This morning was a great example of that. We had abnormally large number that had called in ill, needing a sub on Monday. And so between what ESS was able to provide is what Director Ebert was able to do with roving subs, and then our TOSAs, we were able to cover those vacancies. It was a bit of scrambling. We're going to refine that process in cabinet tomorrow. I think the next piece would be if it stretches beyond that capacity, then we would have to take a look at some of these other tools. But the goal here always is to put a highly qualified, certified individual in front of our children.
Excellent. Thank you. That is encouraging. All right, colleagues, board reports. Who would like to start? Director James.
I just pushed the power button. Sorry. Okay. That was the old teacher in me, you know. Okay, so lots of things going on. We had the I can't even say it, regatta run. Well, I was more like a crawl for me, but thank you to Senator Wagner for just getting us together and encouraging me to participate in that. But that was a great event to raise funds for our first generation college students and through the Rotary Club. So that was great. Also, Dr. Lynn and I are working hard along with the TTSD staff to put together the ISH committee, I guess we can say. To tell you the truth, I don't really know what it stands for, but I'll find out. No, I'm just kidding. So we were working with Director Un, and she put together a framework, and we're going to go over that with the committee, and we have a nice presentation that we all collaborated on, and so that'll be happening next Monday when we will meet. And then since I won't have another chance because this is our last meeting in October, I'd like to remind everybody that ethnicities and people's races are not a costume, and we should not use those in our Halloween outfits.
Thank you, Director James. Director Irvin, just go straight down the line.
So one thing that I started the first week of October was a COSA Equity Academy. So we had the first session. There's 3 sessions throughout the year. And that was sort of equity too. So it was people that have already done some equity work in their districts. A lot of superintendents, a lot of administrators were there. And that was a really wonderful time to kind of break out in small groups and to kind of hear how things are happening in a lot of other communities. And then feeling a lot of gratitude for the work that's happening here. The equity policy that we have, the EASH process, all of these things. And so kind of the main points of this particular academy was sort of digging down into for COSA, their definition of educational equity. And I thought I'd just read those quickly because I think it ties into a lot of the work that we're doing. Vice Chair Lynn and I are working, with the board in terms of strategic planning. And so it all kind of ties together. So they sort of highlighted reducing the predictability of who succeeds and who fails, interrupting reproductive practices that negatively impact vulnerable and marginalized students, and cultivating the unique gifts and talents of every student is sort of how they framed educational equity. And so I just wanted to share that. We have another meeting in December and then our third one in March, where we'll continue kind of digging into those, but thought I would share that.
Vice Chair Lynn. Okay, yes. Yes, I'm looking forward to the work with the each committee as well as the strategic planning committee. And so thank you both for mentioning those. I wanted to just talk about the work of a couple of statewide committees that I serve on that I think have direct relevance to the work that we do here in Tigard-Tualatin. One of the committees I serve on, and I've mentioned them before, but I thought it would make sense to try to give you updates when things are happening because they're relevant to our work, is the Governor's Racial Justice Committee. I serve on the Education Recovery Committee, which is a subcommittee of the wider committee. And the focus of that committee is to create a racial justice action plan for education in the state of Oregon, P16. So we're looking at all the way through from preschool to college. And so there are three things happening right now that you probably know about, but I'll mention anyway. One of them is there's a racial equity and youth collaborative bill that is going through the approval process right now, House Bill 3363. And it's designed to support student leaders in the policymaking arena. So to get students much more involved in that. And then to create state level racial equity and justice student collaborative. So I'm excited about that. We have a lot of students at TTSD that I know will be involved in that. I think some of our students testified at a certain point to sort of make that happen. So that seems to be moving forward. And there's a lot of excitement around that. Another bill is that didn't proceed the last time, but I think will proceed, is going forward this time, is this board and superintendent professional learning bill, Senate Bill 334. And the idea is to make sure that we all learn what we need to learn to be successful in these roles, but it's also designed to really improve professional learning for those groups overall and to improve communication between those two groups. And the other thing that we learned about through the Governor's Racial Justice Council was this, what I'm really excited about is Oregon's K-12 ethnic studies standards, which are HB 2845, which was approved in 2017. There's a bill that is accompanying it, Senate Bill 227, which is ethnic studies standards and professional learning, right? So there'll be opportunities for teachers in particular to learn about how to, in fact, integrate ethnic studies into the curriculum. And so it's a bill that has some teeth, which I'm excited about. The second thing I'll mention, and I'll be brief, is the Educator Advancement Council, which is another group, a statewide group I serve on. And that group's focus is to empower and support and diversify Oregon's educator workforce. We just approved 4 new directors. 3 out of the 4 are teachers. They represent different parts of the state, a high school teacher, an elementary teacher, and then there's a K-12 educator position. And then the 4th position was for a tribal government member. So we're looking forward to continuing to do that work. As I said before, that group has significant resources at its disposal to really support educator diversity in the state of Oregon. And I'll be letting you know about things as they come and letting you know about opportunities to get engaged and to offer feedback and input. Thank you.
Director Zerschmied.
So you can tell it's October because things are getting crazy busy. I had the opportunity last week to go to 3 of Superintendent Ricky Smith's Sit with Sue's. I went to Durham Elementary, Byram Elementary, and Bridgeport Elementary. And we met with teachers for about half an hour before the thundering herds of students came in. The themes that I heard from teachers at all 3 schools, first and foremost, it was gratitude for being back in the building with students. Teachers told us over and over again how much more fun it is to teach in person and how it's filling their cup back up. At the same time, they mentioned the mental health issues and the physical health issues that are, part and parcel of being back in the building with kids. And I also heard from a number of different teachers how much they appreciated the professional development that they got during in-service day. So I wanted to just say kudos to our teaching and learning department. Except they're not teaching and learning anymore. Oh my God, I got that wrong. No, you are. Yes, never mind, you are. Okay, sorry, flashback suddenly. And it was a really good day. And one of the component parts that the teachers I spoke to really liked was the fact that classified and licensed were doing their PD side by side, and that way made a huge difference. I also had the opportunity last week as part of the Bond Oversight Committee to go have a tour of Art Retkin Elementary that's being built. And the foundations are being poured. The retaining walls are pretty much all finished. The foundations are being poured. You can really start to see the outline of the building coming along. The first walls have been put up. Very exciting. So it's going to be a real honest to God school. And it's really exciting to see it come together. So I just want to say thank you to all the people who have been working so hard to make that happen. And that's it. Although I did want to say in the regatta run, I beat out Director Lynn by about a quarter second. Just saying. No competition. I'm not a competitive person, but I was first.
All right. So a few things I wanted to run through quickly. First, there was OSBA organized a board chair roundtable that I attended, and most of the discussion was focused on the board component of the vaccine mandate. And so it was a pleasure to be able to say, not a real concern in TTSD. Although I did mention for them that we had actually booked out, here's when we will do our hearings if there are appeals to the board. And folks did find that helpful because some had not taken into account the appeal process. Also, an announcement. So as I think you all know, Dr. Ricky Smith and I, with the help of Director Rose and past chair Maureen Wolf, submitted our proposal to the NSBA. We've officially been selected and confirmed. So Dr. Ricky Smith and I will be going to present, and that is an opportunity, an option for the rest of the board to join the NSBA annual summit. We can talk more as we get closer, but I did see they just opened up their initial registration period. So if you haven't checked out the dates of that, get them on your calendar, and then we'll probably pretty quickly have to make a call. And with the good COVID news, I'm hopeful that by next spring we're in a clear path to making it happen. Briefly, Vice Chair Lynn and I also attended a elected official happy hour with some Washington County local elected officials with a presentation from Christy Wilson of the PCC Board on Workforce Development. That was fascinating to me, and I think has some topics that we might be interested in discussing as a board about how we can better connect to and expand on our already successful workforce development partnerships. Attended a few. I'm trying to make my way through the sports teams. Made it to Tigard-Tualatin football games and a Tigard boys soccer game, and have more work to do. But students and parents all seem really happy at these athletic competitions. And then real quickly, a not directly academic item, but something I think folks should be aware of is the Wood Spring Apartments are an apartment complex in Tigard that is for affordable housing for seniors. And this is a trend that is happening across the Tri-County area, but essentially this facility was built with a 30-year commitment to be affordable housing for seniors. It is up to its 30-year limit. It has been purchased by a private equity fund who is planning to transition it to market rate housing, which is going to force these seniors out into a very scary housing marketplace right now. And the reason I bring that up, and this is what I mentioned at a rally, is yes, terrible and unethical on a lot of levels, but we should also remember that there are kids who are in our district who will be impacted by that. So, and as this becomes a trend in the Tri-County area where there's a lot of these affordable housing units who had this 35-year commitment that is coming up to due, and there's no obligation for the affordable rate to be locked in moving forward. So this could be a trend that's going to have traumatic impacts on kids if we're not careful about it. So I wanted to flag that so everyone was tracking and aware of it. All right, with that, any other board updates before we transition? Hearing none, there are no public comments this evening, correct, Patty? And just a reminder for folks watching, if you are interested in public comment, the instructions are written on our website as well as on our agenda. You just have to let us know by 4 p.m. the day of the board meeting so we can incorporate it into our agenda. And we do now have, as we have had throughout this academic year, 2 agenda items on public comment, one for items specific to the agenda and one that is open call. And of course, we welcome emails from the public on any topic at any time. Okay, moving on, we will move to the next item, which is excuse me, we did transition to written comments for non-agenda items. That was a transition. But again, you can find our emails on the board website, and we welcome those at any time on any topic. Okay, moving on now to reports and discussion. Our first and only report and discussion item this evening is SIP plans and EASH process update with presenter Director Todd Robson. Director Robson.
Board Chair Bowman, members of the board, good to see everybody. As Patty gets this loaded up, I just want to welcome Director Unn, Director McCall as well. Together we'll run through a preview of what you'll see on our continual improvement plans. We want to give that some attention this evening. As soon our administrators, our building leaders will be sitting with you to go through those particular plans. So that said, thank you, Patty. Next slide, if you will. Just threw a quote in here by Mark Twain: continuous improvement is better than delayed perfection. And so keeping in mind that we are continually, when we look at the acronym SIP, it is CIP, meaning continually improving and working to do that constantly throughout any given school year as we continue to study what it is that we're doing in our classrooms, in our buildings to continually move towards that improvement. What you're going to look at, what you can expect to hear this evening is given an overview of the SIP format, which you'll be engaging with administrators around the timeline, and then also this idea of roundtable that we'll talk about. So in terms of the format, you'll notice I have the word hedgehog there under that. Hedgehog is really what we equate to our absolute laser-like focus. And that term comes from our esteemed leader, Dr. Sue, who really has guided us to make sure that we are, ultra focused on very specific things around our academics, and not only that, but our culture and climate in our schools. And so what you'll hear about in terms of our continual improvement plans is that, just that, it is our hedgehog, our focus. And so you'll see in terms of the format, you'll see the mission, the vision, the core values, and the demographics of each individual school. So they've worked on those things within their buildings, and we'll be sharing those as part of the template. We have collectively pulled together a theory of action that really calls out collective efficacy. We've started down that road in terms of work around collective efficacy with our administrators, and really through collaboration and analysis of relevant student academic and behavioral data, which really is speaking to another focus we have, which is assessment literacy. And then we'll be able to develop and implement differentiated instructional strategies that ultimately will impact student outcomes. And that differentiated instructional strategies piece is really yet another focus that comes through in this theory of action. And our problem of practice really is calling out the gaps that we've seen that have been very predictable over the years, and the 5%, 8% goal is really how we're going to set our focus and set our bar high as we move forward. And really getting at, and what you'll hear about in these plans are the high leverage actions that are really going to get us moving to meet those goals. I'm sorry, Patty, I'm moving along, and as I'm on that. So if you don't mind moving through to the next, one more. Thank you. Thank you. I apologize for that. What you'll notice then on the template is you'll see beyond what I just introduced in terms of the information leading up to this slide is you'll see two academic aims or goals, if you will. And one of the goals is about closing the opportunity gap. And another goal is about raising the bar for all students. And so when principals and leadership teams and staff are looking at their data, they're really looking for what equates to be that improvement by all students, but then also looking for in their data, where is it that they really need to focus beyond and really think about what kind of strategy is going to move particular student groups who are calling out through that data story in terms of needing additional focus. Our high leverage actions, then you'll see on the template something called change ideas. And those change ideas are just that. Those are the high leverage actions. They're going to be called out by building teams. They will be aligned to our culture and community responsive education framework. And that's something that we want our admin teams, our building leaders to really tie into as we work through building that framework as a district, and then provide also as part of that the intended outcomes that come with that. Next slide, please. I want to give Director Un and Director McCall an opportunity to talk a little bit about the EASH plan. You will see this as a part of our continual improvement plan this year. That's a little bit different in terms of how that's laid out for our culture and climate aspect of our plans. So I want to just give you an opportunity.
Well, I'll just start by saying what a great opportunity. Even this work started last year around the EASH plan, which stands for Education and Engagement, Accountability for Implementation, Solutions, and Healing. And along with what Dr. Marvin Lynn said, the EASH Oversight Committee will be having an opportunity to work and see the progress that each of the schools are making. And so each of our schools will be including the EASH plan in their SIP. And so Director On, will you share a little bit more about what that's going to look like?
Sure. So what I find very, I think, enlightening is that, with advocacy from students, communities related to addressing bias incidences and hate speech, we were able to really work in partnership with student services around what infrastructure is necessary to systematically address what students have highlighted is an issue in our cafeterias, our hallways, our classrooms, the bus and transportation, all those pieces that are a part of students' life as well. And so to be able to go from the policy development to the AR development and now to implementation plan is a pretty remarkable thing to experience as a community. And so that's something that we're able to then now leverage as we talk about collective efficacy towards culture and climate that's humanizing. So that's what I want to share about that. So very similar to our former continuous improvement plan with our culture and community responsive educational framework, we're trying to really calibrate our system to have that hedgehog laser-like focus. And so part of that is also to learn and grow as part of the continuous improvement plan. We have shifted in partnership with HR and our associate director, Len Reed, around adding not only adding a leadership pillar in our equity pillar. So now it's leadership,
staff, students, families, and community members, because what we've heard loud and clear, especially during the pandemic, is that staff also needs their voice to be heard, also need to be a part of the decision-making process, also need to be part of the understanding of the health of our system. Just like Director Zerschmidt had said, when you sit with staff, the power of including staff voice and ensure that those conversations that happen at the school level systematically include classified and licensed staff is also a process that shows equity and voice as well for staff. So those are the things that are showing up in creating that culture and climate that's inclusive.
Next slide, please. Oh, thank you. So just to look at timeline, and you can go to the next slide as well. Thank you. In terms of this is a living document. This is something that we really emphasize. This is work that's continuing throughout the year. This is not a hand it in the fall, be done with it. This is something that's continually evolving. But in September and October, then the instructional leadership teams at each of our schools, the collaboration with staff, with building leadership, or putting together the SIP document that you've just heard about in terms of focus in particular. In October, on October 29th, those documents will come to us in the form that they come to us in terms of where they've landed with their high leverage actions and their initiatives that have been called out. And then on October 30th, we'll have a due date wrapped around professional goals, and our administrators are working with their staff right now really intentionally to build in their professional goals wrapped around what's happening with the continuing improvement plans. And then in November through June, we will, we'll see our buildings really dive into that plan, do, study, act, that PDSA cycles that will be taking place. And so they're doing the planning right now. They'll be doing the doing, if you will, in terms of rolling out those the training and the focus around the high leverage actions. And then they're going to study that. And that's one of the aspects of our continuing improvement plans. It's really probably the most important piece is looking at the implementation data along the way and being able to come back to the study around the implementation of those high leverage actions, how that's impacting students, how that's impacting practice, and then acting on that and adjusting and tweaking as needed, or replicating what's really working. And so that's a really important piece to what the cycle looks like. Next slide. And then finally, the roundtable, and then you can go to the next, is really about connecting with the board here, really specifically around what's happening in our buildings. And so roundtable 1 is scheduled for November 8th at a work session, and that's where the principals will be able to share their SIPs specifically with the board. In a roundtable fashion, we're still pulling together the protocols and kind of how that looks, but I think you'll find it really engaging and an interesting way to go about hearing about what's happening in our schools, very specific to continuing improvement planning. Roundtable 2, February 28th, and this is where you as a board will be able to get the updates around those PDSA cycles and what's happening, where schools are. Not all schools will be in the same place, obviously, and you'll hear how that's shaping up for each of the schools. That includes the EASH plan, that includes the equity initiative, and then the academic focused high leverage actions as well. And then again, coming back to the table, April 11th, we'll continue to give those updates, and what you'll be able to see then and hear is not only in the data, but also in the story that's told is from fall to spring, how the impact has really taken shape over the course of the year in terms of the work that's happened. So that really is the process, the template of what you'll be seeing here very soon. And as we start down that path, I'd leave it open with any questions.
Right, questions from the board? Vice Chair Lynn.
Thank you for that comprehensive report. Just a quick question about roundtables and sort of how that works. Is it we're going to each table, or is it a presentation? Or?
Actually, what we have in mind right now, and this will take shape further, but as we do our planning, but what we are looking at is having each board member assigned to a group of administrators, and the administrators then who are at that particular table having opportunity to go deep into their SIPs with each board member that's at that table. Elementary, because we have 10 administrators, we're thinking about a breakout of 5 schools and 5 schools, and then board members being at each of those 5 schools to really go deep with them. So
So it's like doing a modified consultancy protocol where there's time allotted for each presenter to share their school improvement plan, and then board members can ask clarifying questions, and then the leader who's sharing their SIP will get that feedback, and then that's what we'll do, and then we'll probably do the same for the other 2 rounds.
lots of opportunity in terms of the protocols Dr. McCall was just talking about for engagement from board to principals, principals back to board. So, yeah.
Director Jaimes.
Thank you so much for the presentation and for telling me what ISH stands for. No, no, in all seriousness, I like the idea of the roundtables because as part of the ISH committee, just making sure that the SIPs, we take a look at the SIPs and that we are helping, I don't want to say maybe helping guide, but like ensuring that we are really digging into those SIP, the continuous improvement plans, and making sure that those align with, you know, the policies that came before the ISH plan, you know, like the JBC-GBB, whatever that means, you know, those policies, right? And so making sure that the hate speech and bias reporting system is being implemented with fidelity at TTSD, I think it's something that is very important. And as we know, with the All Students Belong policy that came from ODE, it's very important to understand that these hate speech and bias incidents should not be tolerated, and that there's a clear way that TTSD is dealing with them, and that we are ensuring that we have this oversight committee to be able to just dig deep with each principal and their building, and making sure that that those get through thoroughly investigated, and we're making sure that all students belong. And you know, I think it's worth saying every time, you know, that Black Lives Matter, that love is love, and all those things need to be at the forefront of all of our actions. And this roundtable sessions are going to be great to create that collective efficacy, as Director Un was saying. So thank you.
Yeah, Director Jaimes, I would also just add to that. That's one of the reasons that we wanted to actually put the ISH plan in as a part of our continual improvement plans, to really standardize that this year and build on that as we hold ourselves accountable for follow through and making sure that we're doing it right. So,
all right, Director Ershmead.
So in years past, when we've had SIP plans, it's been way back in the old days, it was every principal presented their SIP and the board listened to each and every one. And it was fairly, you know, mile wide, but inch deep, right? And so this roundtable is going to really be an opportunity for board members to dig deep down into the data for just a couple of the schools, which I think is a great way to really get into what's going on. And I'm really looking forward to this. But I'm wondering if there will be an opportunity then for the board members to maybe share out with the rest of the board something that they learned about this specific school, so that because I might become the expert at 12th and high school, but I don't know what's going on in Templeton, say. And so it would be nice if we had a share out opportunity so that we could say, here's something really cool that I learned about this school.
Agreed. That's part of the work that we're doing in terms of thinking about the engagement and then the learning that comes from being at a roundtable with just a certain group of principals is exactly that. We were talking about how every board member can glean from what's happening at the schools across the district. So noted for sure as we plan this.
Yeah, Director James.
And I would just say that, I think with the committee in place and Dr. Lynn and I taking part of that committee, we will be able to come back to the whole board and present during our time so that we're able to let all of you guys in as to what we're doing and what the committee is doing. So I appreciate that.
All right. Hearing no further comments or questions, we look forward to the first roundtable. Thank you very much. And with that, we will move into our action item portion of tonight's agenda. And Director Robson's not going anywhere because we're starting off with Division 22 assurances. Director Robson.
Thank you, Patty. Thank you for calling up. Provided a PowerPoint for everyone to take a look at in the packet. And do just want to kind of move through that. And this being Division 22, our assurances here in the district. I just want to emphasize that one of the things that I do appreciate about this practice is that in terms of looking at our assurances is that there was a shift from a due date in presenting this to our community and our board from a February date to a November 1st date. And with that reasoning comes this idea that we're able to, if there is something that we're not in compliance with and we need to build a plan around, that we're going to have the year to be able to do that, unlike before when it was not quite that fluid. So that said, this is an opportunity for us on a yearly basis to take really latter part of August, September, October, really dive into our assurances, our standards, and work with building administrators, our central office staff, and collectively make sure that we are holding to those assurances across the board. And so with that, Patty, if you would go to the next slide. This just gives some, a why around Division 22. And you can see there are things like these 3 bullets really highlight the commitment really to providing high quality educational experiences and that idea of equitable opportunities for all students. And so this is, these are the assurances that say we are holding ourselves accountable to what needs to be happening in our schools around the Division 22 standards. It really does provide districts the opportunity to, if they're doing it well, to really build that collaboration among building leaders, our central office staff, department leaders, and really dig in to make sure that we are doing what we say we need to be doing. Next slide, Patty, please. Thank you. So talk just briefly about the assurance process, the changes to that. The timeline I mentioned was one change recently. The rule that's listed says that we're looking at the preceding school year and reporting out on that preceding school year. That's why it mentions this is the 2021 assurances. Sometimes folks get confused around that and say, why are we talking about last year? And then this is part of this process is reporting out to our broader community, to the school board, and letting folks know where we stand with those assurances. Okay, Patty, next slide, please. And then you can see here some changes, some waivers. There are some waivers this year to the rule. We have the assessment of essential skills has been waived this year. Our kindergarten assessment has been waived this year. Identification of academically talented and intellectually gifted students has been waived this year. In terms of identifying on that note, we have not stopped those processes here in TTSD. In fact, we'll be able to report this year some exciting news about our systems that we're building and how well that is going in terms of, in this sense, child find, if you will. Even though it is a waived standard, we are not stopping that work. And then there are some subsections that are noted here: personalized learning requirements for the diploma and modified diploma, vision and hearing screening requirements, weekly minimums for PE minutes, and instructional time. Those are all things based on our current context that have been waived for this year as subsections. Next slide, please. The new additions to Division 22. So the Ready School Safe Learner Guidance, as we're all familiar with, is definitely a standard that we is new and that we need to make sure that we're complying with. And then beginning in 2021, we had the annual report on restraint seclusion. Every student belongs, as mentioned earlier, and then suicide prevention plan. Those are new standards. So each year there's potential for some ebbing and flowing and additions to what we are held accountable for. Next slide. So 3 steps really. We share. We look at our compliance. And by November 1, we share to our community and our board. And then what we'll do is we'll actually on our website have this up and available in terms of our assurances. And then we will send our report to ODE by November 15th. So those are some of the pieces that are in place. Okay, and the next slide, please, Patty. So, as we continue to focus really on ensuring high quality, as we mentioned, high quality educational programming, this is just a statement that I wanted to make, that and the experiences that we have in place in TTSD, this effort, this collaborative effort really does allow us to show that compliance throughout. And I'm going to fade into the next slide here real quick to kind of draw that, draw what I'm talking about. But out of 54 total standards to report for 2021, we are in compliance with all those standards. We did have one corrective action that currently is in place. I think we've been talking about it far too long, but it is well in place, and we are finally at a place where next year, talking about this year, we will be able to say we are in full compliance with this. And I'll talk more about that in just a minute. Next slide. Thanks, Patty. So that corrective action is around Aaron's Law. And Aaron's Law is about child sexual abuse prevention. And that's Senate Bill 856. And we have kind of had the perfect storm in terms of not getting to Aaron's Law, the 4 lessons per grade level, K-12, that need to be in place. It's not to say that Aaron's Law lessons around child sexual abuse prevention have not been taught, because within our health curriculums, there are lessons that are taught that meet those standards and meet Aaron's Law. However, the law is very specific to minimum of 4 lessons, K-12 in every classroom. We have not been there yet. We will be, and that was part of the plan that we had put into place. At elementary, Aaron's Law lessons are included as part of the K-5 health renewal efforts that we put together with our scope and sequence that is now out, and the training that teachers have had readying themselves to teach that starting in the spring. At middle school, as you can see, we've partnered with CARES Northwest to provide Aaron's Law lessons, part of the overall comprehensive violence prevention programming. And again, spring of 2022, those will be taught as well. And as well at high school, we're actually working in collaboration with SARC, the Sexual Assault Resource Center, and we're looking at hiring a violence prevention specialist to support that implementation of Aaron's Law. There are some real logistics of really trying to get into every classroom. Not every student takes health every year, and so finding that system to allow for every classroom at every grade level comes along with the potential for this hiring of this particular position. We're excited about that. That will really bring some real intentionality around our efforts with Aaron's Law, which I just want to state is really important because, I will make a general statement, but not every experience I've seen in every district has that intentionality necessarily around making Aaron's Law part of a more comprehensive health prevention kind of program. It can become a checkoff we've done our 4 lessons and we're moving on. And that's not who we are at TTSD. And so we're building that in very intentionally into a larger comprehensive health plan that we'll be sharing later this year as well. But just knowing that that corrective action is in place, and we'll be teaching those lessons this year. Happy to report that. And then what I shared too was the template. Next slide. Yes. Yeah. So shared a template in the packet. That template really is what it's all of the standards listed, as I'm sure you probably have gotten a chance to take a look at. And then what we need to do in terms of sending back to OD is saying we're either in compliance or we're not. If we're not, we need to share what that plan is going to be in moving forward. And like I said, other than that corrective action, we are in compliance with all of our standards. So with that, I would ask, are there any questions?
Well, excellent news.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Director. Questions from the board? Comments? Director Zerschmied.
So I have one comment and 2 questions.
Yes.
So my comment is woohoo. As a member of the curriculum committee, I know just how hard and long you've worked on this, and so it really is cause for celebration that we are finally in full compliance. My questions, as I said, I have 2. The first is, with the coming on of our virtual academy, are there any new assurances that we will be picking up next year that are specific to a virtual academy, or are they subsumed under all of the other ones?
Assumed under all the other ones. Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
My second question then is, does this include our charter school, or will we be expecting a separate report from the charter school on their compliance with the Division 22 assurances?
That is a fantastic question. In all transparency, I am not sure about our charter school and how that plays into Division 22. Dr. Sue, are you aware of what that connection looks like? That's something I absolutely will look into. But that has not come on the radar in terms of.
I believe that they are responsible for filing their own Division 22 with their board, as it requires a report to your board that you report to. Yeah. So, in Mitch's case, this would be work that they would do with their board in filing the assurances.
Yeah, good question. I will.
But
I'll follow up on
certainly,
that too,
we'll follow up to make sure that has occurred, or if they need technical assistance in doing so, that we provide that for them.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Other questions? Vice Chair Lynn.
Yeah, thank you once again for a great report, and congrats. This is good news. I'm excited as well. With respect to sex education, so it sounds like the law requires that this touch every student. Okay, but then as you were saying, not every student takes health ed. So then you have this person come in and work somehow through the system to impact every student. Okay.
Yes, exactly. Not only supporting teachers in terms of having other teachers teach those errands laws, but potentially having this person have some oversight and actually direct teaching contact with students to help build that system out. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Representative Sridhar.
I just had a question. So I know like the lessons are different based on like grade level or like school level. Are they different through high school? Like, is what a freshman would learn different than what a senior would learn?
Yeah, they're progressive in nature in terms of the kinds of things that students are learning.
Okay.
And so from a freshman standpoint, they're touching on some of the same kinds of themes for sure. And that's around prevention and helping students to really understand, what safe relationships look like. And so it's not unlike what you're getting in health class, but it really is specific to making sure that students at every grade level are getting kind of this progressive look at, the different ways in which to protect themselves and be aware, without a doubt. So that does build on itself as students move through grade levels. Yes.
Yeah, I think it's super valuable, especially at the high school level, and especially with like the events of like last year and just what I know personally.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, great questions.
Yeah.
So with that, we'll move to motion. Vice Chair Lynn.
I'm ready. I move that the Tigard-Tualatin School District Board of Directors approve the Division 22 assurances as presented.
I second.
All right, motion has been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll move to a choral vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion passes. We are in compliance. Thank you, thank you. All right, we will move to our final action item of the evening. I believe, yep, Director Moore is still with us on Zoom. And so we'll hand it over to him for fundraiser vendor contract awards. Director Moore, hopefully you can hear us.
Yep, I can so far. Thanks, Chair Bowman, and good evening to you and members of the board. We wanted to present this evening a recommendation as a result of the RFP, or request for proposals, we recently completed related to soliciting proposals from fundraising vendors for student fundraisers. And we received three proposals from three vendors, and we had asked the proposers or potential proposers to submit proposals in one or more categories among three categories: product sales being the first one, coupon books and discount cards, the second one, and then thirdly, any type of virtual or fundraising from a collective effort through digital means. And you can see from the evaluation worksheets, we took a little different approach from what we asked the potential proposers to submit their proposals based on. There's the typical, tell us about your firm, your qualifications, have you done work for the district, who are your references? We took that a step further and asked the proposals to address questions around equity and making sure all students have access to participation and are not excluded from activities due to the failure to be able to fundraise. And in addition to that, we try to steer away from incentive-based fundraising, because if a particular student or family doesn't have the means to complete the fundraising, then they're not going to qualify for the incentives. And then also, we want to make sure they could comply with district's policies and procedures. As, of course, as the finance officer, I'm all about protection of district assets. And once you have a district or school sponsored fundraiser set up and those dollars come in, they belong to the students and or district. And so there's state laws around protecting bank deposits and collateralization laws. And so we put those policies in the material so they knew what they would need to comply with if they ended up signing a contract with the district. And then, of course, we want to make sure it's a company and firm with high ethics, and we ask them to address some of our policies in that area also. So in the end, as you can see, we had the three firms that proposed, and this evening we're recommending authorization for the superintendent and designee to negotiate contracts with the following vendors. Compete fundraising, we've done work with Compete, formerly known as Adrenaline Fundraising, and they submitted proposals in all three of the categories. The first one being their cookie dough sales under product sales. And then they also offer some of you may have purchased from a door-to-door standpoint, the discount cards at the Tualatin football team. I bought one myself recently. Comes door to door, and they have discounts that are offered through the card. And then lastly, in the digital fundraiser, they have the Hour-a-thon fundraising, where they coordinate the fundraising with teams and groups to use their own personal devices to call upon their friends and family to donate to their sport or activity. And then the other contract that we're recommending negotiation and approval of a contract for is with Save Around, and they submitted a proposal related to team fan apparel. And we haven't done business with them, but the second vendor that submitted a proposal in that area did not submit a complete proposal. They did not address the questions in complete fashion that we had requested. So I'm going to stop there and see if you have any questions about the process or the outcome or the recommendation.
So I know this has come up in the previous board multiple times, but want to ensure, so I appreciate that in the RFP there was compliance with board policy. That's really important to me. But we've had those policies in place, and occasionally the fundraisers have not followed them. So what is our process to ensure compliance with our policies after the contract is awarded? Is that through the coaches or the principal or athletic director? What does that process look like?
Well, the first, to answer that question, my first thought is the reason why we're recommending a negotiation and not a direct contract award. I want to be able to have those conversations with the firms. I actually have started the conversations with Save Around because I needed to learn more about the firm before I could make a recommendation to negotiate, because I had some questions, and I told them during the conversation, here's where you need to go when it comes to meeting policy around protecting district and student assets, and they totally understood. I still need to have that conversation with Compete, but for sure we'll have those conversations before we sign any contract.
That's awesome, and it makes me very happy to hear. And for full context, which you all probably put this together, but basically part of the fear was we make this big investment in removing pay-to-play fees and an extracurricular equity fund, but then there's all this pressure that could be put on students. Oh, you have to fundraise or you can't be part of the team, and we sort of negated the impact of the investment. So hopefully you can communicate the board's interest in ensuring that there's no social pressure felt by students or exclusionary practices for students who don't feel like they can participate in fundraising. But thanks for being on top of that. Other questions? Director Jaime.
So I like section 2.5 about the equitable access and outcomes, because I have a love-hate relationship with fundraisers. I love the fact that we get money. I hate the fact that we have to ask for it, especially the kids that are participating in the fundraisers. I used to be the poor kid that would get, like, from the Jagathon would get like maybe a couple dollars, that I would raise, and then I wouldn't be able to participate in the fun activities afterwards. And then working at Bridgeport, where we did have, and I'm not sure if this is a different cookie dough fundraising, but where we had the kids that were able to sell a bunch of cookie dough, right? And the frozen cookie dough to their well-off family members, and got to go in the limo to McDonald's to get their Happy Meals. And the kids that were able to sell one tub for $20 of cookie dough was like, they're just kind of left there, right? So it's like, it's those things that dislike about fundraisers, but I also know that we need them to, to keep the schools going. So I appreciate the section 2.5 with the equitable access and outcomes.
All right, unless there are further comments, I'd entertain a motion. Director Irvin.
Quick draw. All right. Let me scroll. All right. I move to authorize the superintendent or designee to negotiate contracts with Compete Fundraising and Save Around to serve as fundraiser vendors for district schools through June 30th of 2022, with the option for 2 one-year renewals as presented.
I'll second. The performance of passing the microphone. Motion has been made by Director Irvin and seconded by Vice Chair Lynn. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll move to a choral vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. All right, the motion passes. Thank you very much, Director Moore, for being here over Zoom. And with that, I will adjourn.